Okay, hi. Starting the advanced case of Carl Jung today. Yeah, just be a second here. We'll get a few things organized. Okay. Okay, good. Hi. So, okay, so we're starting with Carl Jung's chart, July 26, 1875, Kessel, Germany, 7:32 p.m. Just a quick look. You see, he's the Sun in Leo, Moon in Taurus, Aquarius rising. Okay, so we'll just come around that again in a second, but we're just seeing it and look at the pattern type. It's a seesaw. Well, actually, no. There's the lines of the ascendant are drawn on here into the midheaven, so it changes it. It becomes it's a splay because it can be a seesaw too many ways. Okay. Yes, there's a mistake on this chart. Okay, on this form. It's done from an old system. We had revised the pattern types and tightened them up. So it is actually, because it can be a seesaw in more than one direction, it is actually a splay, which is a person is unique. It's got they stand their own way. They defy other rigid classifications, and they're just their own person in their own right. And he's born in the waning half moon. So the Taurus moon is just catching up to the Leo moon. So it's the waning half. It's getting dark. The light's getting darker. It's going back towards the ending, a completion of things, towards, in a way, a need to belong or a need to go within. When we go through the points, 4 points I have, 2 points I feel, 3 points I will, 1 point I balance, 1 I desire, 1 I understand, 2 I know. So I know, I feel, but I have, and I will, are the primary ones what I feel and I know coming close behind. Those are his keywords. I think the having with the Taurus moon is an important factor in his nature. And well, we'll stand up, we'll see. Daylight increasing, darkness increasing, 6 daylight increasing, 8 darkness increasing. Not a big difference, just a slight tendency to need to belong or be responsible more than to be independent, to be involved. Daylight is greater, 9, darkness is greater, 5. So there's this a tendency to be Leo. I want to be my own self. I have my own way. It's a little stronger. My way is a little stronger than your way, or than our way. Okay, so that's the kind of consistent theme in his life. In any case, he gets involved, but he has to do it his way. When you get to the cardinal fixed immutable, you see the outstanding factor, the fixed quality, the consistency, the fixedness, the determination. Not much adaptability, not much drive. He's not a driving person. He's a determined person, not an adaptable person. Okay, this is yeah. He worked hard to get through. He got his, he had his no idea. He had his ideas, but he got his degree to get some credibility in media and getting through. He married a very well-off, one of the most well-off ladies in Switzerland. Married a really well-off lady, and held in. It was a good deal. He held in. He got what he wanted. He was having his security, and it didn't need to adapt from there. Winter, spring, summer, went 2 winter, 4 spring, 5 summer, 3 autumn, fairly even balance, but just the winter is the low point, the summer is the high point, most active time. With the elements 4, 3, 4, 3, that's as about evenly balanced as you can get them. So the fire and the earth, the action and the practicality is predominant, but the air and the water, so you can't really distinguish them that clearly with that close of a balance. They don't, one doesn't stand out more than the other. Masculine, feminine, 7-7. Between projecting and reacting, 7-7. 3 rulerships. The sun rules 3 planets, Moon 2, Mercury none, Venus rules 5, Mars 1, Jupiter 1, Saturn 2. So if something affects his ego or his sun, if his confidence is up or down, it's going to affect 3 points in his chart. That's really his sun, and his Uranus is going to have those effects. But if it affects his security, it's going to affect his moon. But if it affects what he wants, if it affects his Venus, if he's not appreciated, if he's not liked, it has an effect on 5 points in his chart, on 5 points in his chart. This is a big influence. So Venus is a strong factor in his chart. By rulership, it rules 5 points, really 2 points of the sun. So it's 4 points. It's going to be the Neptune, the Pluto, both in Taurus, and the Moon in Taurus, and the Jupiter in Libra. So like a lot of factors are affected by his values of what he likes, and when they're good, they're going to be affected positively. When his Venus is difficult or his choices are bad, it's going to have a more difficult effect on the other factors. So, so in a way, when he was with Freud, the main battle was Freud's things, repression and neuroses are caused by the inhibition of sexuality, and you do something and there's repercussions, or negative repercussions, or you don't do something and it gets repressed, and that he had a Mars point, and Freud really had Jung really had a Venus point about, I get what I want, I make my choice, I have what I want. It was not so much about what I'm doing, it's about what I attract. So yeah, it's okay, we'll work on this puzzle. Okay, we look at the houses. 1 identity, 1 values, 3 expression, having to express himself, need to express himself. 2 duty, 3 partnership, 1 trust, 1 friendship. So duty, work, being helpful, healing, that's there. But expression, teaching, communicating, expressing is a strong suit with partnership. So relationships and expressing himself. Counsel, the psychologist, the counselor, being able to express about partnerships, the really good and the bad. And the expression, that's where his moon is in Taurus with Pluto in the 3rd house, and the partnership is the sun with Uranus in the 7th house. So certainly it's accentuating his dealing with counseling around relationships and being able to teach and counsel and write and express himself. And he would have a charming way to be able to, the sun and 7th house, he would be able to make people feel confident, or empower people, or ennoble people in relationships. And the Venus, the moon in the Taurus, would be able to express what he wants, to be able to charm or sweet talk, or express appreciation, or express what's needed. Okay, so in the rising setting, 6-6, here 5 above, 7 below, a little bit more emphasis below the horizon subjectively than objectively. In the houses, it's 4 angular, 3 succeedent, 5 cadent. So here, the succeedent is the least, it's not the strongest element, like in the signs it was so strong. Here, in circumstances, in the worldly way, he had a bit more ability, capacity to adapt and to drive, but his attitude was really fixed and determined. 5 intuition, 1 thinking, 4 sensation, 2 feeling. So the 5 intuition is projecting where he's coming from. That's the 3rd house stuff, the 3rd, 2nd, 1st house. Projecting your motives, your IC, projecting intuitively. But how it affects others, you don't think of it as a weak point. You didn't think how he projects and affects others. You didn't see that much. Wasn't that it wasn't his strong, how he affected others, how others affected him. That's the fourth sensation. He would be very strong around being sensitive to how he's affected by others, but he wouldn't be, and he would have an intuitive sense of what he's putting out to reach others, but he wouldn't be thinking about the results of how people are reacting to his thinking that much. That's a weak spot. And the same way with taking things, he could interact with people in the 7th, 8th, and 9th houses, or 9th, 8th, 7th houses. He can react to those very easily as a strong suit. But taking it personally is the Mercury, Venus below the horizon, only 2 points in taking it personally. So his drama is going to be in his projection and the reaction of other people to him, not so much in how the thinking quadrant and the feeling quadrant are not his strong suit. In fire, water, in the houses of self, only 1. Houses of relationships, 7. Houses of concerns, 3. Rewards, 1. So the water and the earth are weak. Water and air and fire are the weakest. The emotional or the expressives, but the relationships are really essential, being able to relate. So for a counselor, for a psychologist, his story of his life is really tied up to his relationships and their successes or failures or complications. So just looking back for a second here. Yeah, in the elements, we are fairly evenly balanced, 4-3-4-3, but in the houses, they aren't. The relations came very long. So that's Sun in the 7th house. It's not just the 7th house, it's the 7th house, the 11th, Mars in the 11th, and the Moon and the Pluto in the 3rd. These are all relationship. His whole main factors are in the relationship houses. Okay, now I want to go over the chart a bit first. Okay, so pull this over here. Okay. Okay, this chart's, I was just going to pull up charts, some longer charts for this chart has aspects to the ascendant and midheaven, which you don't usually draw in because it takes away from the pattern type where you would see the sextile between Mars and Saturn, the sextile between Mars and Jupiter, and each sextile can divide the chart from the opposite side. So like it's okay. It's I mean his chart his chart really does waver. He sits straight on the edge between a few things because usually for the seesaw or the splash or the splay, there has to be a square. And there's not a square. There's lots of squares, but there's not an empty square in his chart. So the splay type doesn't exactly divide the chart. It's not exactly dividing chart. So this ends up, but it's beyond the splash. So it's kind of beyond the splash. I would put it to display because it's closer. It's closer to it. But this is certainly a puzzle, a chart that's borderline for the pattern types. It's kind of like a seesaw, and it's kind of like display, and it's kind of like a splash. It kind of has the mixes of them all. So I think the seesaw, the 3rd and 4th, this is one side in his behavior tends to balance more against the other side, more against the other 3 planets on the other side. So I'm inclined to put it to the seesaw, but seesaw splay like that. Okay. Not worth getting stuck on it. So